I went to Washington, D.C. last week because it was going to be like minus 10, minus 20 in South Dakota. And I'm like, let's get out of town. And I saw that Washington, D.C. was going to have a high of like 45 or 50. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just go. So I went. I wanted to get up here and say I went because it was the March for Life this weekend, but I didn't find that out until after I got there. So I wasn't doing anything special. But I said I just went. I won a free membership to the Museum of the Bible. I had been talking about going for a while, and I'm like, Crystal's like, just go. Just get out of town and go. I'm like, but none of the kids can come with me. No, just go. So I went. I got a buddy at work, and she works at a hotel and the airport, so she gets discounts on hotels. And I was like, I got a cheap hotel, free flights out there and back. I saw the Museum of the Bible. I saw the National Art Gallery. I'll show you some cool pictures afterwards if you want to. And I want to say the Hall of Records, but it's the National Archives, the Declaration of Independence and stuff. Spent the day there and came back. And then didn't rent a car. I just took the train because you can get on the train and you can go on the train from Washington, D.C., the Reagan Airport all the way into town. And if you miss the train, 6 minutes later, there's another one. So it's a pretty good deal. If you miss your plane, which I didn't do, then you're stuck, right? Then you're stuck for another hour or sometimes another day. Crystal's got a friend who's still in Florida trying to get into Chicago right now, but from the night before. There's moments in life where timing matters, right? Like I said, yeah, you miss a train in D.C., pick up another one. Miss an airplane, yeah, you may have to wait an extra day. But there's other times where this is the moment that you have to act. Otherwise, it's a big deal. Sometimes the door doesn't reopen. And Jesus, in John chapter 12, he's at one of these moments. He's telling the people, if you miss this moment, the door may not reopen. Jesus has entered Jerusalem. The crowds are swelling. Everybody's paying attention to what he has to say. All the signs are complete. The opposition is hardened. We're going to kill this guy. And for the first time in the gospel, 12 chapters in, for the first time in the gospel, Jesus says, time is running out. Not history, but your time is running out, Jesus says to them. John chapter 12, verse 35 says, the light is among you for just a little while longer. This is your chance. The door may not reopen again. The light is among you for just a little while longer. It's not a threat. It's not manipulation. It's Jesus being merciful. Believe while you can. So, why believe while you can? This is what Jesus said. Look at verse 31. Why do you believe while you can? 1, the world is going to be judged. John 12, verse 31. Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the ruler of this world be cast out. When I'm lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself. Notice what Jesus does not say. He doesn't say there will be a judgment later, right? The end. He's not saying the end is near. He's saying now. You believe now because the world is being judged now. The judgment of the world doesn't begin at the end of time. It doesn't begin on, what do we like to say? It doesn't begin on Judgment Day, right? It begins now at the cross, Jesus says. Because the cross reveals the truth about everything. The cross exposes what the world calls power. It unmasks what the world calls wisdom. It reveals what the world calls worship. When Richard Wurmbrand was in prison in, I think, was it Romania? You may not know who Richard Wurmbrand is. He's the one who founded the Voice of the Martyrs movement. We get their magazine in the back, and he founded a movement to pray for persecuted Christians all over the world. And one of the things that sticks out to me from Richard Wurmbrand's work is that he was imprisoned for the gospel in Romania forever and ever, eventually released and founded this movement. But one of the things that sticks out in my mind that he said is that the communists, they will torture you and they will put you in prison and they will shut you away or send you to the gulag, but they will not kill you for your beliefs, because if they kill you, then you have won. Because all the power that the world has, they can kill you, but they couldn't change his beliefs. And so they torture you. And they put you in prison, and they threaten your family so that you will change your beliefs. And they know that if they kill you, then you win. Your belief is the final say. And Jesus says the cross is going to expose that. It's going to expose to the world that the world just has power to kill. The world has power that it thinks is wisdom. The world has power. The world has this power that they truly worship, military might or violence, and yet the cross reveals that is nothing in the grandest scheme of eternity with the Son of God. So why do you believe all you can? Second thing Jesus says is that the ruler of this world is going to be cast out. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be cast out. This is one of the most important lines in all of John. Because Jesus is actually saying something very radical. Jesus is saying the cross proves that the ruler of this world does not have ultimate authority. The ruler of this world, the devil, Satan, he traffics in keeping everything at permanent emergency mode. Every headline is framed as this existential move thing. Every election that we have, and we're going to have an election here, and you're going to hear about this more and more and more and more. But every election we have now is a referendum on democracy. And if we don't vote the right way, democracy will end. It's this thing where it's the end of the world. This is the biggest deal. It's an emergency. Society is collapsing. Your kids are in danger. The economy is about to fall apart. Fear keeps you clicking, doom scrolling through your phone, reacting, never resting. The ruler of in this world traffics in death. Problems are solved by removal. Remove the unborn, remove the elderly burden, remove the persons who don't fit. The ruler of this world traffics in accusation, public shaming. You find the wrong tweet or the wrong sentence or the wrong association, and that person, you pronounce judgment on that person for life. They said this back in 1994. Therefore, they have no legitimacy forever. You are not who you are becoming in this world. You are only you when you fail. That's not the story of Jesus, is it? That's the story of the ruler of this world. Traffic's in control. Your phone learns what makes you angry, what makes you anxious, what makes you affirmed, and then it feeds that to you, not because it's true, not because it's good, but because it keeps you engaged, it keeps you paying attention. The ruler of this world traffics in lies that sound like truth. Be true to yourself, unless yourself needs repenting. Be true. You are enough. Unless you're broken, then you're all by yourself. Live your truth, even if it contradicts reality. And the cross, though, exposes all these limits. All these things, they bind you to the world. All the things that the ruler of this world traffics in bind you to the world. This world is all there is for you. And the cross exposes the limits. If Satan, the ruler of this world, were all-powerful, the cross would be the end of Jesus. Instead, the cross becomes the defeat of Satan. The cross becomes his eviction, his unraveling. The ruler of this world cannot keep people bound to the earth anymore because Jesus says, if I'm lifted up on the cross, I'll draw everyone to myself. I'm going to draw them out of the world. I'm going to release them from bondage in the world. I'm going to draw them to myself. That's why this is one of the most important lines in the gospel. Jesus says, Jesus is saying that the ruler of this world will be cast out, and everybody is free to come to Jesus at the cross. When I'm lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself. Satan wants to drag you down, but Jesus wants to lift you up. That's a cheesy line, isn't it? But it's so true, right? The devil just wants to bring you down, but Jesus wants to lift you up. Now, he lifts you up sometimes You're on a cross, right? You're going with him where he's going, but you don't stop there. The cross, it reverses gravity. Do you see that? It's like whatever the Star Trek gravitational dampener has been turned off, and everybody starts to float around because the world is pulling you down towards the grave, 6 feet under, and Jesus is like, no, we're going to lift up. We're going to float up. We're going to move up. And we're not going to stop at death. We're going to keep on being lifted up. Where the world wants to peddle fear, Jesus peddles love. The world says, what do you lose? What if you're exposed? What if everything falls apart? And Jesus answers that by settling the ultimate question. At the cross, the worst thing that can happen to you has already happened, and God is still there. And God is still there. Sin is exposed, and it's forgiven. Death is faced, and it's defeated. Abandonment is felt, and it's answered. Perfect love casts out fear. The ruler of this world uses death as its final authority. And the cross takes death and turns it into a passage, not a prison that binds you. It is a passage. Jesus doesn't avoid death. He enters it. He exhausts it. And he walks out on the other side. The cross says death is real, but it's not ultimate. The cross says loss is painful. Don't say amen, but loss is painful. But it's not permanent. The grave is occupied, but only temporary. When you're accused by the world, the accusation says, you are your sins. You are your failures. You disqualified. The cross absorbs all of those accusations. Every charge is spoken. Every sin is named. Every verdict is rendered at the cross. And then the sentence falls on Jesus. The cross doesn't pretend you're innocent. The cross doesn't brush everything under the rug. The cross declares that you are forgiven. Accusation is silenced, not by denial, but by the atonement of Jesus. So in you, there is nothing left to accuse because it has already been dealt with. The cross takes control and turns it into surrender. The ruler of this world comes through force and manipulation and fear, and the cross gives us voluntary surrender. Voluntary surrender. Jesus is not overpowered. Jesus is not trapped. Jesus is not tricked. He lays down his life on purpose. He is the one who is in control. That changes everything. Jesus is the one who is in control of the entire situation. He chooses to be obedient even under the cross. Power is redefined. It's not domination. It's when you are able to give yourself. It's not being coerced into doing something. It's being faithful in doing something. It's not in control, but it's in trusting the Father. The cross breaks this illusion that survival requires control. Right? If I'm going to make it, I've got to be in control. You don't have to grasp. You don't have to manage everything. You don't have to save yourself. Jesus has done that for you at the cross. The kingdom advances through the opening hands of Jesus. And the cross tells the whole truth. The world's lies, they comfort us without saving. You are worse than you think. Sin is real. Judgment is real. The cost is real. And the truth is, you are loved more than you hope. God bears the cost. God pays the price. God draws you to himself. When we look at the cross, it refuses us to deceive ourselves. The cross says, you are not enough, but Christ is enough. The cross says, you are not abandoned, you are redeemed by Christ. The ruler of the world is cast out, not by force, not by fear, not by accusation, but by Jesus on the cross, lifted up. And when Christ is lifted up, everything else loses its claim on you. The people are confused. John mentions this. In verse 34, the crowd answers him. Because this is shocking, right? This is shocking. They're expecting to be redeemed. They're expecting to be saved. They're expecting them to be given their nation back. And the crowd answers him, we have heard from the law that the Christ remains, the Messiah remains forever. How can you say that the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is the Son of Man? They knew what Jesus meant when he said lifted up. They knew that Jesus meant he will be going to the cross. What do you mean? There's never been an account of someone being crucified and surviving Jesus. How can you say that the Son of Man will be crucified? Underneath that, though, they think they're asking a good theological question, right? But what about this, Jesus? And underneath, though, is resistance. What they want is, they want a Christ, a Savior, without suffering. They want a Messiah who refuses to bleed. They want a kingdom that does not require death. And we will stumble here too. We want resurrection. We want victory without surrender. We want light without truth. But there's no believing in Jesus without believing in a crucified Jesus. There's no believing in Jesus without dying with Jesus and being raised again. And so Jesus doesn't argue with them. Jesus doesn't argue with them. He just says, the light is here now, and you're going to miss the train if you don't follow the light. The light is here now, and the door will close, and it will not reopen unless you believe now. No more theological arguments. You believe, and you be obedient. Verse 35, Jesus said to them, the light is among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. The one who walks in the darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light. He actually says, while you have the light, 2 different times. He ties it to 2 different things. While you have the light, walk. While you have the light, believe. Light, walking, and believing, they go together. Light reveals reality, and then belief commits you to that reality. You can see light, right? You can see it and still refuse to walk. You can hear the truth and still delay being obedient. So Jesus is saying, when you have light, walk into the light. When you hear the truth, believe it and be obedient. When the light comes on, or the sun comes out, and the world is opened up, it was opened up to you, you begin to see more possibilities, right? You begin to see what could possibly happen in the future. You don't see answers, right? You don't see what's going to happen. You see what is possible, what could happen. And so, for some of you, when you see what's possible, it may make you stop and go, I don't know if I should go in that direction, because I don't know what's going to happen. But once you begin to think what is possible, maybe Jesus starts to nudge you just a little bit. Jesus is like, hey, the light is here in front of you. Believe, trust, be obedient while you have the light. For some of you, being obedient, asking, and trusting, it looks like maybe you're going to tell the truth in a relationship where you've actually been managing the way you look, managing your impressions. Maybe being obedient means ending a pattern that you keep excusing because now is not a good time. You ever use that? You ever use that phrase? I don't know if I want to talk to that person because now is not a good time, right? Could be a good time. How do you know? Maybe this is the time where the door is open, the light's on, and God is asking you to be obedient. Maybe obedience means forgiving somebody even though you won't get closure. You could get closure, but you won't know unless you forgive them. Doing the next faithful thing without knowing how it turns out. Just go ahead and do it, even though you don't know how it will turn out. Do you ever argue yourself? Do you ever have this argument in your head? I heard the other day that there's a group of people, like 15% of people, who do not have like a conversation with themselves in their head. Yeah, I'm like, what? But there's 15% of people who actually don't talk to themselves in their own heads. And I'm like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't talk to myself in my own head. But besides that, do you ever have this conversation in your own head? If God would, then I will, You ever do that? Don't shake your head no, because I know you do. Like, oh, if God would just do this, then I would do this. Or if God could make this happen, then I could do this and this. God's like, flip that around, girl. Flip it around. Do it and see what I'll do. Be obedient and see what could happen. The light is with you. The possibilities are out there. The world is opened up before you. Just be obedient. Walk forward. Walk into the light, and God will meet you there. See what could happen. We often say, God, just give me clarity. And Jesus says, walk. Just walk. You'll get clarity. Just start walking. When I'm in Washington, D.C., you can punch in the map on your phone and your map, and I got to walk to different places, right? Because I don't have a car or nothing, so you just walk. Now, when you punch up on your map, you go, okay, I'm here, and then you say, I want to go to the National Gallery of Art. Okay, punch there, and it'll show me on my GPS the little route. Walk over here, walk over here, walk over here, and it's just an arrow on top of the map, and it just shows me this. Now, if I stand there looking at that arrow from top down, I cannot figure out if this building over here is on this corner of the map, or this building over here is on this corner of the map, or this building. Like, I just have a little arrow right here, and the arrow does not know which way I'm even facing, right? Until I start walking. And once I start walking, then my phone knows, oh, you're going in this direction. And if it's your pastor walking, then my phone will instantly say, by the way, you got to go back that way because you always pick the wrong direction. But once you start walking, right, then you can go, oh, this is the direction that I'm going. And I can know, oh, I am going in the right direction. But if you just sit around looking at your phone, waiting to figure out which direction you're supposed to be going, sometimes you will not be able to figure out where you're going to go. You got to start moving, being obedient, taking a couple steps, and then God will say, yeah, that's it. That's the right direction. And I'm going to prove that it's the right direction to you by, I'm going to bless this, I'm going to bless this, I'm going to bless this, so that you know you're going in the right direction. Sometimes you got to walk for a mile, right? But God will eventually say, yes, this is it. Sometimes you got to go over a couple hills and around a couple turns, being obedient, and then you look back and you're like, oh, you know what? God was showing me the whole time that I was going in the right direction. And I didn't know it till I got here, but then I know. Now I looked, oh, God was faithful this whole entire time. But you have to take a step and take a step and take a step and not wait. And maybe there's something you're holding on to going, oh, it's not the right time. Or, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And Jesus is just saying, walk. Just take a step. Just walk. And I will show you the direction that you're going. You believe the light. That's what it means to believe. That's what it means to believe in the light while you have the light. It means to walk in the direction that the light is showing you to go. You believe, to believe is to lean your weight on Jesus on the cross. You paid for everything. You took care of my sin. You took care of all the pain. You took care of the fear of death. You took care of everything for me. Now I can walk. Now I can take a step forward. I don't have to be in control. Jesus is in control. I don't have to justify myself. I don't have to just say, Jesus is the light. You say, if he's wrong, if I fall, if he is right, I stand. Let me say that again. You don't just say Jesus is the light. You say, if he's wrong, then I fall. But if he's right, then I stand. That's what it means to believe. I will follow Jesus, and if he's wrong, then I'm wrong along with him. And I will follow Jesus, and if he's right, I will stand with him. That's belief. You know what happens? You know what happens when you do that? Jesus says, light's among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. If you walk in the dark, you don't know where you're going. While you have the light, believe in the light, and then you will become sons of light. Sons and daughters of light. Heaven doesn't mean that to belong to heaven, to become a son of light, doesn't mean that you escape from the world. It means you start living as though this world is final. You become a child of light. A child of light, filled with light. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. But in the Sermon on the Mount, like chapter 5, verse 15, he says, you are the light of the world. A child of light shines like they live with generosity instead of scarcity. You know what I thought of this week when I heard this? I thought of, and you know why I thought of this? I thought of my seat warmer in my car. Right? I gave my friend Mike a ride home from work because his car was broken a couple weeks ago. And turned the seat warmers on for him and for me. And about halfway through the trip, he goes, oh, you got a seat warmer over here. I'm like, yes, I do. My old van is broken. I mean, I don't drive my van here because I don't know if it'll make it sometimes, but it's all broken down. But it does have a seat warmer, right? It does at least it has that. And I thought, doing this sermon, I thought, yeah, that's a lot like what it means to live as a child of light. Doesn't have to be flashy. Doesn't have to be you're putting on a show. Sometimes it just has to warm things a little bit. Sometimes you don't start to feel that warmth right away, right? I got leather seats in my car too. And you're like, because the leather don't warm up too fast. But after a while, all of a sudden you're like, oh, something's going on here. This person is shining. And I didn't even know he's shining. He's just kind of glowing, radiating. And things begin to change. Things begin to warm up a little bit. Your calendar begins to change. Your priorities begin to change. Your loyalties begin to change. The way that you react to things begin to change. And your impact on those around you starts to go deeper and deeper. Rather than broader, it just goes deeper and deeper. You live as somebody whose future is already secured because it begins to glow inside of you, to warm you up. Light's still among us. The word, the gospel, the witness of the church, the witness of the people of the church, the mercy of God calling you today, the light is still among us. But Jesus doesn't promise that moment will last forever. Believe while you can. Walk while you can. Not tomorrow, not after everything makes sense, not when it costs less. Believe while the light is here. Amen. The light of the